Hello, friends. About 2.5 weeks ago, I had occasion to take a 6-hour flight out to the West Coast, and I had fully intended on grading my senior religion essays, but I succumbed to temptation and instead watched the movie In the Heights. It's a wonderful movie. It's a June 2011 release, and it's based on the 2008 Broadway hit by Lin-Manuel Miranda, In the Heights, the same name, and it's the story of the Latino community in Washington Heights, right near the George Washington Bridge, and their aspirations to share a bigger part of the American dream. And one of the most impactful characters for me was a character named Abuela Claudia, Grandma Claudia. And she recalls her story of growing up in Cuba, the hardships there, the blessings of coming to the United States, and her longing for even more blessings as she and her generation move forward. And in her signature song, she counsels her children and her grandchildren, Paciencia y Fe, patience and faith. And it struck me as I listened to that song and watched that movie that Paciencia y Fe, patience and faith, is a perfect theme for Advent as we wait for Christmas, as we await the coming of Jesus into our hearts, and as we await the coming of Christ at the end of time. I've chosen this outdoor setting with the bare branches and the falling leaves because it represents to me that transition time from fall into winter, which we mark during Advent. Paciencia y Fe. We need a lot of patience and we need a lot of faith. And why is that? Well, because sometimes life is like a beautiful autumn day, filled with color and filled with the abundant promises of life. But sometimes life is like a cold and barren winter day. You know, when our longings go unfulfilled. And this is the dynamic tension in which we live. And this is the dynamic tension that Advent rightly marks. Our lives are fulfilled, but unfulfilled. Christ is present, but sometimes we feel his absence. We are often satisfied and happy, but sometimes we are dissatisfied and unhappy. We live in that dynamic tension of already, but not yet. Is the glass half full or half empty? And we experience that all the time. Fulfillment, but also longing. And it's that dynamic tension of fulfillment and longing that prompted St. Augustine to write those famous words, "You have made us for yourself, O Lord, and our hearts are restless until they rest in you." So Advent is a time of expectancy and longing as we long for Christ. And as we live in this dynamic tension and we experience these longings, what are we to do? I could think of no better advice than that of Abuela Claudia. Paciencia y Fe. Paciencia y Fe. Patience and faith. A blessed Advent to you. And thanks for listening.